شعب الجزائر البطل.
ألف شكر مستمعينا الفاضل في كل مكان، تقبلوا تحياتي أنا بالقاسم جيرنا حقيقة في أمان الله.
With Radio Algeria International, you will not miss a single major political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
French historian Benjamin Stora has stressed the necessity of France's official recognition of its colonial crimes committed in Algeria, notably the massacres of Algerians and the dispossession of land. The UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese has said that evidence shows Palestinian prisoners from Gaza have been subjected to torture by the Israeli occupation since February 2024. With the launch of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees COP30 in Brazil, the UN warns of millions displaced by climate change and conflict. A deal aimed at ending the US government shutdown has passed the Senate, paving the way for the record-breaking impasse to be broken. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm your host, Miriam Bershi, and joining me today, Masoud Sharfi. Hi, Masoud.
Hello, Miriam.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received new messages of congratulations from presidents and heads of sister and friendly countries, as well as from heads of international organizations on the occasion of the 71st anniversary of the start of the glorious liberation revolution. The President of Nepal, Ramchandra Podale, the President of Sri Lanka, Anura Kumara Dissanayaka, and the Sultan of Brunei, Hassan al-Bolkiah, congratulated the President of the Republic on the occasion. The Minister of Finance, Abdelkrim Bouzrid, has presented the 2026 Finance Bill yesterday before the National People's Assembly during a plenary session chaired by Brahim Bourali, Speaker of the National People's Assembly, and in the presence of members of the government. On the occasion, the Minister of Finance specified that the bill provides for budgetary expenditures of approximately 17.6 billion dinars in 2026 and estimated revenues of 8 billion dinars.
The overall budget for next year amounts to 17,636 billion dinars. It should be noted that in 2025 the budget was 16,794 billion dinars, representing an increase of approximately 1 trillion between 2025 and 2026. The projected growth rate for next year is 4.1%, in 2027 it is 4.4%, and in 2028 it is 4.5%. This level exceeds the global growth rate. The growth rate of the hydrocarbon sector is less than 0.5%. As for the industrial sector during the period 2026-2027, it is 26.2%, agriculture 5.4%, construction 5.1%, and services 5%.
The minister stated that the bill is part of a national context marked by a progressive recovery of the economy driven by the government's efforts in various sectors. He also highlighted the state's ongoing efforts to promote investment, diversify the economy, revive major structural projects, and develop exports. The French historian Benjamin Stora has stressed the necessity of France's official recognition of its colonial crimes committed in Algeria, notably the massacres of Algerians and the dispossession of land, as Sabika reports.
Speaking on the Algerian channel Al24 News, the French historian explained that it is necessary to patiently build new bridges between the two sides, to work on history, recalling the process launched by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, with the creation of Algerian-French Joint Commission on History and Memory. Referring to the chronology of the terrible years of the French occupation of Algeria, Benjamin Stora recalled that it was marked by the dispossession of Algerians of their land, the theft and massacres of Algerians, which constituted crimes against humanity. He highlighted that the already mentioned French crimes are not in French school textbooks. He added that France has silenced this tragic period, explaining that this history must be reconstructed so that it is accessible to the French. In this regard, he cited the issue of archives, which must be accessible to historians from both sides of the Mediterranean. Mr. Stora also stated that he had been subjected to attacks from certain circles within the political class in France, particularly from the far right, which wants to challenge France's colonial past and its crimes in Algeria. He said the far right doesn't want to hear anything about France's massacres of Algerians and their nuclear tests, but facts and the truth about the French occupation of Algeria should be highlighted and corrected.
The Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals, Vice President of the Executive Bureau, the Council of Arab Ministers of Justice, Mr. Lutfi Boujemha, will take part next Wednesday in Cairo, Egypt, in the 41st session of the Council of Arab Ministers of Justice. Over to you, Masoud.
Mr. Boujemha will also participate tomorrow in the 75th meeting of the Executive Bureau of the Council of Arab Ministers of Justice. The agenda of this session includes 14 items addressing important topics, including the examination of the Arab Convention on Combating Terrorism and the Arab Convention on Combating Money Laundering and the Financing of Terrorism. The Council will also examine the Arab Convention regulating the status of refugees in the Arab countries, as well as the draft Arab Convention on the protection of personal data, a proposal submitted by Algeria. The Council will also discuss the issue of the unification of Arab legislations through the examination of draft model laws, including the Arab Model Law for the Prevention of Hate Speech, the Unified Arab Law on Combating Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances, the Arab Model Law on the Protection of and Assistance of Displaced Persons in Arab countries, and the Arab Model Law on the Protection of Children from recruitment in armed conflicts, also proposed by Algeria. This session is part of the annual periodic meeting of the Council of Arab Ministers of Justice, devoted to examining legal and judicial issues of common interest, promoting joint Arab action in the legal and judicial fields, and sharing experiences among Arab countries.
The People's National Assembly is taking part in Rome, Italy, in the two-day preparatory meeting for the third Global Parliamentary Summit Against Hunger and Malnutrition. This pre-summit meeting, organized by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, will focus on the main trends related to global food security and nutrition, as well as the assessment of progress made and the identification of challenges and priorities to be addressed by the summit in order to make it more effective, while emphasizing legislative priorities to promote collaborative solutions. The Israeli occupying army has launched a joint strike targeting the east of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip, killing at least 2 Palestinians, including a child.
According to local sources, the drone targeted a group of civilians in the town of Bani Suhaila. Since the ceasefire agreement came into force on October 11th, Israeli occupying forces have continued to violate the truce, raising the death toll to 243. Meanwhile, medical sources in the besieged enclave reported receiving 15 bodies of slain Palestinians released by the Israeli occupying authorities through the International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC. This marks the 12th batch of bodies handed over by the occupation authorities since the ceasefire agreement. The UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territories occupied since 1967, Francesca Albanese, stated that evidence shows Palestinian prisoners from Gaza have been subjected to torture by Israeli authorities since February 2024. In a press statement, she stressed that the Israeli occupation remains shielded from accountability for these crimes. According to a report by lawyers from the Public Committee Against Torture by the Israeli occupation, based on testimonies, the occupation is holding dozens of Palestinians from Gaza in an underground prison, where they are deprived of sunlight, adequate food, and any contact with their families or the outside world. The report also confirmed that many of the detainees are civilians and that Israeli occupation courts extend their detention in brief video hearings without lawyers present, justifying this with the phrase "until the end of the war."
In Sudan, waves of displacement have continued to flow towards the city of Dhaba in the northern part of the country, where the number of displaced persons have reached 57,000, most of them from the cities of Al Fasher and Bara. Local sources announced that the city of Dhaba continues to receive displaced people from Darfur amid tragic humanitarian conditions. They explained that this figure reflects the scale of the worsening humanitarian tragedy in the conflict areas and confirms the continued deterioration of security and living conditions, which is pushing thousands of families to seek safe haven in more stable states. The crisis in Sudan has persisted since April 2023, when fighting broke out between the army and the rapid support paramilitary forces, worsening the security and humanitarian situation nationwide and raising regional and international concerns over its impacts on stability. Khartoum has seen major developments in recent days, particularly in Omdurman, where more than 10 drones tried to strike several sites but were repelled by the army. In Nile River State, drones were spotted over Atbara, while in Kordofan, besieged Alej area, drone attacks by the rapid support paramilitary forces reportedly killed over 10 people. The UN warns of millions displaced by climate change as COP30 opens in Brazil. The UN's High Commissioner for Refugees said in a report published on Monday to coincide with the launch of the 30th annual UN Climate Change Conference, COP, in Brazil, that weather-related disasters caused about 250 million people to flee their homes over the past decade. The Migration Agency issued its second major report on the effect of climate change on refugees, No Escape to the Way Forward, in the run-up to COP30, as it appears that the enthusiasm of countries to agree action to curb climate change continues to ebb. The report said over the past decade, weather-related disasters have caused some 250 million internal displacements, equivalent to over 67,000 displacements per day. The UNHCR added that climate change is also increasing the difficulties faced by those displaced by conflict and other driving forces. It continued that climate change is compounding and multiplying the challenges faced by those who have already been displaced, as well as their hosts, particularly in fragile and conflict-affected settings. Floods in South Sudan and Brazil record heat in Kenya and Pakistan, and water shortages in Chad and Ethiopia are among the disasters noted in the report. The number of countries facing extreme exposure to climate-related hazards is projected to rise from 3 to 65 by 2040. A deal aimed at ending the US government shutdown has passed the Senate, paving the way for this record-breaking impasse to be broken. Asabekar has more details in this report.
After a weekend of negotiations in Washington, a minority of Democrats joined with Republicans and voted in favor of an agreement. The vote is procedural first step towards passing a compromise to fund the government since it ran out of money on October 1st. It will need to clear several more hurdles, including a vote from the House of Representatives before federal employees and services return, but it is the first serious sign of progress after 40 days of deadlock. The current shutdown is the longest on record in the U.S., and until this weekend it appeared that Republican and Democratic lawmakers were locked in a stalemate. Many government services have been suspended since October, and around 1.4 million federal employees are on unpaid leave or working without pay. The shutdown has had wide-ranging impacts on a variety of services, including U.S. air travel and food benefits for 41 million low-income Americans. Republicans, who hold a 53-47 majority in the Senate, needed the measure to clear a 60-vote minimum threshold. They were able to attract 8 votes from the other side of the aisle while losing just one in Kentucky, Senator Rand Paul, who voted against after saying the bill would increase national debt. The deal includes an agreement for a vote in December on extending health care subsidies that are due to expire this year, a key issue Democrats had been holding out for concessions on.
And with this last piece of news, we conclude our news bulletin. Stay tuned on Radio Algeria International.
and welcome to your weekly program Technoverse and the Science Planet on Radio Algeria International. Today we explore 5G, the fifth generation of mobile networks that promises to transform how we communicate, work, or even think about technology. But to understand 5G, we must first travel to the beginning, to see how mobile communication evolved from its humble beginnings to the complex, ultra-connected networks we have today. The story of mobile communication began in the 1980s with 1G, the first generation of mobile cellular technology. The first mobile phones were large, heavy devices that could barely fit in a briefcase. They were used exclusively for voice calls, and the networks were entirely analog, which means they could only carry voice as continuous signals, making calls less clear and unable to support text messages or internet. Signal coverage was limited, calls often dropped, and mobile phones were considered a luxury for business elites. Then came 2G, the second generation in the early 1990s, and the digital revolution began. Suddenly, mobile phones could send text messages, and calls became clearer and more reliable. For the first time, people could connect not just through voice, but through data, laying the foundation for the connected lifestyle we take for granted today. 2G also introduced basic security protocols in communications, making conversations safer from people trying to secretly listen or intercept calls. By the early years of the 21st century, 3G arrived, bringing mobile internet to the masses. With 3G, smartphones could browse websites, send emails, and even make video calls. This was the era that turned phones into essential tools for work, learning, and social interaction. Suddenly, the world was at our fingertips, and the concept of a truly mobile lifestyle was born. Then came 4G in the 2010s, offering much faster speeds that enable seamless streaming of videos, real-time social media updates, and mobile apps for banking, services like Uber, and other ride-booking apps and gaming. Each generation of mobile networks didn't just improve connectivity, it reshaped how people interacted, worked, and entertained themselves. And now we have reached 5G, the next major leap in mobile technology. So what exactly is 5G? To put it simply, 5G stands for the fifth generation of mobile networks, but it's far more than just faster internet. Unlike the earlier generations that focused mainly on improving voice clarity or boosting speed, 5G is designed for something much bigger: massive connectivity, ultra-low latency, and higher reliability. That means it's not only about how fast you can download a movie, but how efficiently millions of devices can communicate at the same time, from your phone and smartwatch to traffic lights, home appliances, and even industrial robots. Imagine a network so capable that it can support an entire smart city where every sensor, vehicle, and device exchanges information instantly without congestion or delay. From a technical standpoint, 5G operates using higher frequency radio waves, known as millimeter waves. These waves can carry a huge amount of data at incredible speeds, up to 100 times faster than 4G, but they cannot travel as far or penetrate walls easily. This is why 5G networks need a much denser infrastructure, many smaller antennas placed closer together across cities and towns. These antennas work together using advanced technologies like beamforming, which focuses signals directly towards your device instead of spreading them everywhere. But what does all this mean for you as a user? Think of it this way. With 4G, you might wait a few seconds for a high-definition video to load. With 5G, that same video starts instantly, and downloading a full movie could take less than 10 seconds. But the real impact of 5G goes far beyond faster phones. It's the foundation of a newer connected world. This This technology powers innovations that once sounded like science fiction. Picture autonomous cars communicating with traffic lights, road sensors, and each other in real time, preventing accidents before they happen. Imagine doctors performing surgeries from another continent through robotic instruments connected via 5G that respond instantly with no delay between movements and action. 5G is also transforming how we grow food, work and learn. In agriculture, it connects drones, sensors and irrigation systems, allowing farmers to monitor crops and save water efficiently. In factories, machines and robots can coordinate seamlessly, improving precision and safety. And in education, students in remote areas can join virtual classrooms with no lag, feeling as if they are right there. Even entertainment is being redefined. With 5G, augmented and virtual reality experiences become more immersive, bringing concerts, museums and games to life in entirely new ways. In short, 5G is more than just the next generation of mobile networks. It is the invisible infrastructure behind the digital revolution. It connects people, places and things in real time, laying the groundwork for smarter cities, safer roads and more connected lives. Yet with all this excitement, myths have spread. Some claim 5G is harmful. The International Telecommunication Union (ITU), a UN agency, has clearly stated that such claims are false. 5G uses non-ionizing radio waves, which cannot damage DNA or spread viruses. Science confirms that 5G is safe when implemented according to global standards. Despite its promise, 5G faces real challenges. High-frequency waves require more towers, especially in cities, and building this infrastructure is expensive. Coverage is uneven globally. High-income countries are moving fast, but many lower-income regions may be left behind, highlighting a digital divide. The UN estimates that by 2025, 5G will cover over half of the world's population, but large gaps will remain, particularly in rural and developing regions. During the launch of the International Telecommunication Union's ITU flagship report, Facts and Figures 2024, a report on global connectivity, digital inclusion and 5G coverage, Dr. Cosmas Lakison Zavzava, director of the ITU Telecommunication Development Bureau, drew attention to uneven 5G rollout across income groups.
It is estimated that more than half of the world's population is covered by a 5G mobile network. And we are in an era of artificial intelligence, and of course 5G is critical because of its low latency. However, distribution is very uneven and disparities between high and low income countries persist. 84% of the population of high income countries is already covered by 5G compared with just 4% in low income countries. Where 5G is not available, 4G is a good alternative. However, 4G only reaches about half of the population in low-income countries, where 3G remains an important technology for connecting to the internet.
There are also environmental considerations. More towers and devices mean higher energy consumption and electronic waste. Experts emphasize sustainable development strategies, ensuring that technological progress does not come at the cost of our planet. Even everyday devices, from smartphones to Internet of Things gadgets, must be designed with sustainability in mind. Looking ahead, 5G is just the beginning. Researchers are already exploring 6G, promising even faster speeds, global coverage, and networks that can anticipate human needs. In the future, cities could respond automatically to emergencies, logistics could become fully automated, and healthcare could reach remote communities instantly. However, with this power comes responsibility. Privacy, cybersecurity, and equitable access must guide the development of these technologies. If managed wisely, 5G and future networks could reshape our societies for the better, making technology a tool for progress, connection, and inclusion. So the next time you glance at the bars on your phone, remember that all those small symbols represent decades of innovation, from the first analog calls of 1G to the digital revolution of 2G, the connected world of 3G, the streaming generation of 4G, and now the possibilities of 5G. You have been listening to Radio Algeria International's Technoverse and the Science Planet. Until our next voyage into the Technoverse, let curiosity guide your steps and knowledge lead your way.